So the very first part of the mist, what I like to do is blur the water first. So that's why we created this water blur layer. So what I'll do over here on the toolbar is go into quick mask mode by clicking on this button right here. And this will allow us to edit in quick mask mode. And then I'll select the brush tool. And then what I can do, or better yet, I'll just go ahead and zoom in a little bit closer, and then I'll go back to the brush tool. And we're going to want to paint with black, and it should be black on the foreground by default. But if it's not, you can press the D and X keys on the keyboard to get that to go black, and just start to paint on the water, just like this. Now be careful not to get any of the smaller rocks, or just do your best to avoid the rocks. But you can get up close to the rocks on the sides of them. That's fine, because that'll enhance the effect. But I found doing this tutorial or doing this technique that it always looks best if I blur the water first. And this is so weird. I mean, when I did this tutorial, I did things, or when I figured out this technique anyway, I did things that I've never done before, that I never thought were possible. And so I've discovered a few new things, and this could be like, kindergarten class Photoshop for some of you out there, and maybe some of you photographers out there already know about all these techniques, and that's okay. However, I'm going to show you the way, or show you my technique on how to do this, and hopefully you can pick up a few things from this. And I'm just going to go over and paint on the water, even if, I can go ahead and paint back here. And even if I don't want that, I can just erase it away later on. But I'm just going to come through here, and I've gotten around these rocks right here. Now the first time I do this, I'm just going to go really fast, because then later on I can just go back and touch up. And hopefully I don't lose my voice on this video like I did on the last one. But yeah, we should be okay. All right, I'll turn this down. Around the rocks, up and around, up and down. There we go. And I'll press the space bar on the keyboard. And when I do that, I get the hand tool. And so that will help me navigate around the image. Okay, this looks pretty good. Up here. Now I can already see there's probably some places that I don't want to blur out. Now that I'm looking at it a little bit closer here, I can get a nice large brush, and I can do a gradual blend here, erase away the back just a little bit, something like this. Let me try that one more time. There we go. And it looks pretty good. I can, let's see, I'll select, I already have the eraser, so I'll just make this smaller. And then I'll come in here a little bit closer, and you can see at the top of these rocks here that we do have a little bit of masking going on. So you can go ahead and just erase some of these areas on the top of the rocks, because we want to keep the details. And if you get a little bit of mask on there, or if you get a little blur on the rock, it's not going to make a huge difference. But, well, it depends how much you have, but it's not going. You're still going to get a nice effect at the end. So I'm just going to go around here, and you can see there's some rocks right here. We've gotten the paint or the mask on top of these rocks, so we could probably erase away a little bit on these. You see that? See what I'm doing there? Look at that. And over here, I could make this a little bit smaller and come in here and just paint on top of these rocks, something like this. And I'll probably blur this mask later. So if you think, these little erase jobs are really noticeable, well, later on, I'll show you that we're going to go ahead and just blur this mask. Look at this. And I'll come through here, up and down. Now we've got some little rocks in here, so I'm going to lower the brush. But the main thing is just to get the mask down and then you can come back through here and touch it up. I usually work this way. I just come through here and erase away the areas that I don't want. And looking good. Looking good. Let's go ahead and zoom out. Okay, awesome. Now, before we move on, I want to blur this mask because it's soft, but it's just not soft enough. So let's come up here to File, or I'm sorry, Filter, and down here to Blur, and over here to Gaussian Blur. And if you can see, if we add just a little bit, not a lot, but if you look very closely at, let me go ahead and just zoom in. Right above the top of this rock here, you can see if I turn up that radius, it will soften. See that? This is before, and if I turn it up, it's softer now. And that will make that blur, when we apply it, much softer. Great, let's go ahead and click OK. And I will zoom out here, and I'll scroll down. There we go. And then what we're going to want to do is switch back to standard mode at the bottom of the toolbar right here. Edit and standard mode. I'll click on that, and as soon as you do that, you're going to start to see a selection created where you masked the image, and that's okay. Come up here to select and inverse that selection. There we go. So we're just selecting the area that we want to mask now. Now come up here to Filter, Blur, and the Gaussian Blur filter right here, and then turn this up. Go pretty high with this if you want. Somewhere around 90 something, or sorry, not 90, but 9.3, 9.5. And I like that. I'll go ahead and click OK. There we go. Up here to select and deselect. All right, so it's very important that we soften the water, and we just did, because anytime you see a slow shutter effect, the water is always completely soft. There's no detail at all. Now, if we have a little bit of detail, that's okay. I'm not going to be too fussy about that for right now. But let's go ahead and move on to the next step.